Hey crew, I've got the key to this 26 Honda Civic Type R. And this week, we're gonna see what it's like to live with. Starting with the spacing in my driveway, which is 16 feet wide by 19.5 feet long. I've got the Civic parked right there at the edge. I'm proud of that. And it is sitting next to nothing at the moment because Mobile Mama took the kiddos to the beach this morning in the Cadillac Lyric V. If you want to check out her content, by the way, it's at Mobile Mama on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. When she did have the Lyric parked here close to the edge, there was ample room to walk between the vehicles, wheel a wagon or double stroller through for our kiddos. The footprint of the CTR is not that large. Up here at the front, the car is parked just back from the gutter, and it is fairly low, so I am glad I do have these curb ramps here for clearance. If you are taking things at an angle, you should be okay, but these just give you that peace of mind. And at the back, there is plenty of space to walk in front of the hedge on the path to my front door. When first hopping in with the key fob on me, I can just put my hand on the front door handles and it will unlock all four doors. And as I open up that door, the Lyric is obviously not here, but when it was, I could swing this door out all the way for easy access to this cabin. And the seats do have some high side bolsters here, but they're flexible. So if I sit on them on my way in, it's not gonna hurt me or the seat. Closing up that door, it's a good solid thud. Hey cabin crew, thanks for joining for this day in the life in the 26 Civic Type R. In this video, I want to see what it's like to live with a manual only front drive hot hatchback. Let's start by firing it up, clutch in, hit the start stop. And that turbo 4-cylinder has come to life in a more subdued fashion. This is not going to disturb any of your neighbors if you have to leave early in the morning for a commute or come back late at night. Before we roll out of here, let me show you where I'd put the items I bring with me every day. Like my iPhone, which is sitting on this wireless charging pad, and as a 17 Pro in its case, it does fit, but if you've got a bigger phone, it might be a tighter squeeze. There isn't dedicated sunglass storage to protect the lenses anywhere inside this cabin, so I just stuck those next to my phone. Inside this console, I squeezed an additional mic set. I've got my GoPro accessory case nudged into the door pocket, and there wasn't a good space for my 32-ounce metal water bottle, so I just stuck that inside the glove box, but it did fit. Inside this door pocket, I've got some snacks, my slimline wallet, and a Racebox 0 to 60 timer. So you can fit pretty much anything you want to bring with you. As I throw on my red seatbelt now, I'm going to release the parking brake, head into first gear, and as we roll on forward here, down over the curb ramp, I will turn that wheel and make sure that, yes, we are easily going to make it past my neighbor's basketball hoops on my way out. Creature comforts are somewhat limited in the Civic Type R. You don't get heated seats, you don't get a heated steering wheel, which makes me especially sad because I love that so much. And with it being a manual, you don't have the remote start option, which would cool down the cabin or heat it up before your departure. And it's especially hard not to have that when your gear selector is made from aluminum, because if it has been sitting in the sun for a while, this is exceedingly hot, or vice versa, if it's been in the chilly cold all night, it's gonna freeze your hand. They do make accessory socks that you can put on this gear selector, and that isn't the 4th or 5th accessory I would buy if I got this car. It's the very first, because that's something you have to interact with to drive the car. Fortunately, temperature notwithstanding, it is a very nice gear selector to interact with. It feels excellent in the hands, the throws are nice and tidy, but direct and clear, and the clutch pickup is a little on the later side, but once you adapt to that, it's a very easy car to drive. And even if it's light on creature comforts, that doesn't mean the Civic Type R is light on comfort in general. These seats deserve all the awards. The material is soft, the padding is perfect, the bolsters aren't overly aggressive, and yet I already know, having driven this car many times before, that they do hold you well in place for high G cornering. And even if there are only manual adjustments to the seat, forward or backward, the height adjustment and the back angle, along with the manual adjustments to the steering wheel, you can easily find a perfect driving position regardless of your body type. And that part's really important for me because with a longer torso at 6 feet tall, I constantly have issues with headroom, but no such problem in the CTR. Speaking of things you'll interact with daily, the turn signal. What does it sound like? It's a little loud. It might bother you if you're sitting at a light for a while with that going. And we sampled it briefly in my driveway, but what about a turning radius test out here in the real world with that cranked? It's okay. For a front drive car that is tasked with turning the wheels and powering them, you can make that work. But what if someone is driving recklessly on the road and you're gonna honk at them? What are they gonna hear? Oh, they're just gonna laugh at you. They're not gonna feel reprimanded. Fortunately, it has 315 horsepower, so you can speed away. But yes, the power and the 310 pound-feet of torque are served up nicely through this 6-speed manual. But even in the sport drive mode, if you are up there in gears below or right around 2,000 RPM, it's a single turbo 2-liter 4-cylinder. You're gonna wait a second for that boost to build, but once you get to 2,400 RPM, then you're not really waiting. It's raring to go. And importantly, in the first couple gears, you're not noticing any lag at all. So if you prefer the throttle response of comforts, that isn't just going to prompt ridiculous turbo lag or anything like that. You are gonna gain momentum with a nice blow-off noise. But what's really getting me about this car right now is the ride compliance, because the last time I drove a CTR was in 2024, and I came away praising the seats, of course, but I found that the ride was a little too taut. I was jostling over the surface of the road with cracked or uneven pavement all the time, and it became tedious. But I'm not sure what they've done in the last 2 years. Maybe they pulled the damper module out of the Integra Type S, which I know a lot of people do in the aftermarket for the CTR, but the ride is so much more agreeable. Yes, it still has that feeling of sportiness. It feels direct, but it's no longer a chore to daily drive. More thoughts to come, but first, I need some coffee that has been raised by lions. I'm gonna park this bad boy right there, backing it in, of course. That's what I do. Heading into reverse, that's all the way over and down, prompts a low-res backup camera. Now, that's not a big deal during the day, but at night, when it's kind of grainy and hard to see, that becomes an issue. We've got trajectory lines here to help, and with those door mirrors and the fact that the CTR is not that big, getting into this compact space is fairly simple. We don't have parking sensors, unfortunately, but I can tell this is gonna be the time to stop. So it's parking brake, first gear, start stop, off to coffee. There we are, delicious iced decaf coffee has been acquired along with some beans for myself and Mobile Mama. Before I hop back inside though, I wanna talk about the styling. And I'm really torn on this Boost blue color because, well, a hot hatchback is supposed to be fun. So I get the blue. I love blue. I love purple. I love color on cars. But, you know, the FL5 generation is more mature looking, except for that big wing at the back, than the FK8 predecessor. So I can see why my friends Tom Coletta and Chris Amos, aka Tedward, and the Topher went with the championship white. It does look a bit better with the red accents here and of course the bright red seats, but I don't think you can go wrong with any of the colors on this car. It just looks good. And I love the red backed Honda logo to go with the Type R badge. Lots of front ventilation here, LED daytime running lights, a heat extractor on the hood in gloss black. Getting to the side, these matte black 19-inch wheels look excellent with the pop of color from the red painted Brembo brakes. Those wheels are wrapped up in Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, got black for the door mirrors and window trim. Looking at the profile, the visual effect of the lower valence, the big wing, and the lowered suspension on the larger wheels really distinguish this car in a good way from the standard Civic hatchback. and getting to the back, it's impossible to ignore this big wing or even the red badging, the gloss black diffuser, and the 3 center exit pipes. Obviously, this vehicle is more boy racer than a Golf R, but I still think it looks cooler than the GR Corolla. Which do you think looks best? Let me know. And also, would you get this car in this bright of a color or something more subtle? Now, as I place my coffee in one of the 2 deep cup holders, which do have these prongs to keep it in place, and it being recessed gives me a little more confidence it's not going to splash out onto my clothes. And then put these in the passenger footwell. Let's go have some fun in the CTR. Starting with a real world 0 to 60. I've got my race box set up to record. I'm in the plus R mode with traction turned off. When I head into first gear, as I rev it out, it does soft limit me to 3,500. So I'll need to be quick with the clutch work on my way out of the hole. Here we go. Down into second. And arriving at 60 in second gear in 5.60 seconds. That's plenty quick for me, and more importantly, it's fun. Yeehaw! And to be fair, this car is capable of a high 4-second or low 5-second run to 60 if you want to just repeat your runs until you get everything perfect. But instead of doing that, might I recommend finding a good canyon road to exploit what the CTR does best: inhaling ribbons of asphalt. And it isn't just that it's fast through the curves, it's the experience itself. The steering loading up beautifully to communicate grip, the plus R mode having firmed up the dampers to keep the body flat, all this 6-speed slickly changing gears, and that limited slip differential somehow getting the power down through just the front tires. Oh, it's a bouncy affair, but it's a really satisfying one. At just under 3,200 pounds, this is in no way a heavy car, so the Brembo brakes can be really effective at scrubbing speed, and the front end just has so much grip that it sucks you into each curve, and there really isn't much in the way of understeer, thanks in part to that limited slip differential, but what little you find, you can cure by just trailing the brakes a little bit to get the back end to scoot around. Oh, it's so good! There is one problem though. The CTR has a rev match feature, which is really handy around town where you don't want to be matching your own revs at a stoplight. But if you want to be practicing your own heel-toe downshifts in an environment like this, maybe some double clutch action, well, you're going to have to come to a full and complete stop, engage the parking brake, and then go into the menus, find vehicle settings, wait for that to load, then you go into the driver assist system setup, go down to the rev match system and turn it off. That whole process could be solved with a button. But it's worth the hassle to disable it because the pedal placement in the CTR is ideal for just rolling that ankle over, stabbing the throttle, matching the revs, feeling like a hero, and smiling your way through the canyons. Today, let's test the practicality with a Costco run to benefit the charity Families Forward. Today's mission, and yes, I did already choose to accept it, is to stuff this very full cart in this very hot hatchback for a good cause. As always, I'll attempt to get all of this in there without needing to fold down the rear seats. There goes the C8. Before I get started, I'll point out that there is a deploying cargo cover here, which I likely won't need because that's a lot of stuff, and a removable one up here. There also isn't any underfloor storage. As I begin to load, I'm not usually bothered the lift back doesn't clear my head at 6 feet because where the bumper comes out, I'm usually leaning in. But for tall people, the recessed floor might be tough on the lower back. Why does this feel like a salad? The more I load in, or the car eats, the more there is. There is a high level of satisfaction for what I've just accomplished here. The only thing that could make it better is if it fits. Darn it, I forgot the toilet paper. And this is a problem because I've worked so hard to maintain rearward visibility and that's gonna ruin it. But I also don't know if it's gonna fit. Nope. Oh, why did it have to come to this? At least they're soft so they can go in the back seats. Whee! Now, after returning my cart, what have we done to this poor Kona? They're gonna be trapped. Someone has to do something. Here we go. Last one. And with that, the rescue mission is complete. And the Civic Type R is Costco approved with most of its seats. On my way to drop these goods at Family's Ford, I want to listen to the cabin volume at highway speeds. Now on this smooth tarmac, it's pretty darn quiet. You do hear outside traffic. Oh, on the concrete slabs, the tire noise is heard much clearer inside the cabin, but at least the outside traffic noise is not all that loud, and the wind noise is kept to a minimum. So keep in mind, this is a mainstream vehicle that's just hotted up with power, so don't come expecting luxury car insulation, but I think you could commute in this without too much fuss. If you were gonna be on the highway, it wouldn't always be an open road like this. It's sometimes gonna look like that, and then you'd be grateful for the driving assistance features like adaptive cruise control, which I can set here, and then it's gonna maintain a gap to the vehicle in front of me. The problem is that if it's in stop and go, you're still gonna have to clutch in, change gear, clutch out, so on and so forth. So it's not gonna perfectly relax you like adaptive cruise could do with an automatic transmission in stop and go traffic. But for slightly more open roads, that is very helpful, and you do have a lane centering assist system, so it's not going to let you depart the lane, and it's even going to help you stay in the center. There is also a Bose sound system equipped as standard, and we can hear that via the wireless Apple CarPlay when I get Spotify going here, and the screen may not be huge, but it is well responding, and I do like the physical volume knob and some of these important physical controls. So let me get Spotify pulled up here. That is taking just a moment, not too bad. And then when I find my playlist of choice, which isn't Frozen today, for the kids later it will be. I'm gonna find the song I want, and now I can turn up the volume knob. Not sure what, I think that's about 60, maybe 70% of peak volume. Okay, so that sound system is perfectly adequate. The clarity is not incredible, the wattage, the immersion is not fully, but it did an okay job. Not a bad sound system. It's about time to refuel this 12.4 gallon tank, and the CTR is EPA rated at 22 mpg in the city, 28 on the highway, and 24 combined. If I did get 24, I'd have a fuel range of about 300 miles. Unfortunately, during my time with the car, where I've been driving rather enthusiastically, I've been averaging 14 miles per gallon. And at current fuel prices of $5.95 for the recommended but not required 91 octane gas, it's gonna cost me $74 to fill this tank. And there isn't capless fueling to save me any time. Well, crew, at the beginning of this video, I pondered what it would be like to live with a front drive, manual only hot hatchback. And after quality time spent behind the wheel, I've become very at home in these ultra comfy bucket seats. The biggest difference compared to my last spat in the Civic Type R is the ride compliance. No longer are the adaptive dampers firm in every setting, they're offering a relaxed ride around town that stiffens up appreciably in the Plus R mode. The 6-speed is sweet shifting with clear throws and a medium weight clutch that shouldn't wear you down in traffic, but is of course more work than an automatic. The hatchback shape adds practicality over a sedan, and the cabin is ready for all your daily gear and accessories. The turbo 4-cylinder packs great punch for passing, but heavy throttle use every day is gonna drain that relatively small fuel tank. The CTR is always fun to drive, but especially so when plotting a winding road. The steering feel, balance, and braking are just locked in. At $49,000 as tested, the CTR isn't attainable for every enthusiast, but it's still a strong value and my personal favorite among hot hatchbacks. I hope you've enjoyed this day in the life, and I will see you again next time.